Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday night Arduino workshop with Chris of MRL Trains. I want to say hey to everybody and welcome you in for tonight's show. but anyway, go to YouTubeModelBuilders.com. There you can check the schedules for the Tuesday night show, Wednesday show, and the live show. Tuesday and Wednesdays are an hour earlier than the Thursday and the live show. So be sure and check your time zones. If you happen to miss the show or can't make those hours, make the live show, don't worry, it's been recorded. And you can go back to YouTube and go to YouTube Model Builders, and there we have the playlist. You can catch up on the past videos. And while you're at YouTubeModelBuilders.com, be sure and click on the e-magazine. JD and his team work very hard to put out a really good magazine. That thing is great. And also, it's free. You don't want to miss out on the freebie. And with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Chris now. It's all yours.
Okay, thanks, Johnny. Welcome back, everybody, for another episode of Arduino Workshop for Beginners by Beginners. So a reminder, we're all beginners here, and well, some of the people are a little more advanced than others, but it's just a bunch of beginners working through different things with the Arduino that we can apply toward our model railroads. I know we talked last show about doing a speedometer next time after this show, but after doing a little bit of looking at it yet, I think we're going to push that out a couple weeks. I think there's a couple other things we can do in between that'll help us be more ready for that, especially myself. I just haven't had a lot of time, but tonight we're going to be working with a 16 by 2 LCD display. If you have a different one like a 16 by 4, that's fine too, or any other LCD display. I think it should probably be able to work along and just have to change your code a little bit from what I'm going to be doing. But the big thing is if you look on the back and you see this extra board on the back, that's called a backpack, an I2C backpack. That's going to make things really simple for you tonight. If you have one of those on the back of yours, what it means is we basically 4 wires to our Arduino, and that's all it's going to take. If not, when you see turn around this way. You see this row of 16 pins here? If you have just a bunch of holes there, you're going to end up running all those wires to your Arduino board. Hopefully everybody has one with the backpack on, so we'll take a little survey real quick. Shouldn't take too long because we only have a couple of guys on the panel tonight. The other ones weren't able to make it tonight, but they'll be back again next week. If there's anybody out there in YouTube that wants to jump on the panel tonight, we got plenty of room. Just post up in the chat, and hopefully Johnny will be able to send you the link. We look forward to new panel members if you're out there and want to join in. So let me switch over quick to my other camera. Let's go to screen sharing. I'm going to post a link as soon as I pull up the right page. Sorry about that. I was having a lot of technical difficulties getting set up for the show tonight, and I thought I had the right web page, so there's just another difficulty to add to the list. I found a really good web page. This is what helped me get this thing to function. Normally, like I've said in previous shows, I try not to do a build with whatever it is that we're going to be doing until we have the show, so that I'm building it right along with you guys for the first time. But this was actually one of the first things when I got my kit, and before I ever started doing this show, I thought, oh, that looks really cool. I got to figure out how to use this. And so I did, and it really wasn't too difficult. But I think combining this LCD with a bunch of the other input-output devices, we could do some pretty cool things. So, here we go. I found the web page I was looking for. I'm going to post the link in a moment. and then share my screen. This is actually the page I used to help me learn it back when I was first playing around with this. So, Johnny, if you can share this out on YouTube, that would be great. The rest of you guys look in your chat window and there should be a link if you want to bring up that web page. Oh, okay. I'll screen share right now. I guess we can't share that on YouTube directly as the link. So let me get back to my screen share and we'll take care of that right away. Sorry for the delays here. Just one of those nights where everything that can go wrong is going wrong. Mostly my computer, but some of it is also Google's fault. We won't get into that. All right, here we go. We're sharing. And everybody see this web page I have up? It says learn do arduinoinfo.info across the top.
Yep, it's there.
All right, so if you look way at the top where the link is, and I'll highlight it, and I'll even read it out for you for the guys out on YouTube. It's https://arduino-info.wikispaces.com/lcd-blue-i2c. Let me see if I can make that a whole lot bigger. Highlight it. Yeah, it didn't zoom with the rest of the screen, so that isn't going to help. But okay, so once you get this screen up, I'm going to start going through it, and hopefully everybody will catch up real quick. What this page really does is explain these 2 and 4 line LCDs. There's a couple different versions, and it does a really nice job of explaining the different versions and then how to get them to work. It talks a little bit about the I2C backpack, and as you scroll down, and then they even give us some sketches to play with. So first thing we want to do is I'm going to just check with the panel and see how many different people have the I2C backpack on theirs. Johnny, if you want to just scroll through the different guys and let them jump in, or if you guys want to unmute your mic and just say yes or no if you have a backpack on yours.
Nope.
Yep, I have one, and I've got it on the back of a 4x20, and I've also got a 2x16, and this is what the backpack looks like before you attach it to the LCD board.
Okay, I can't see that unless I stop sharing my screen. So you're going to want to use the 16x2.
Okay.
JD, what do you have?
We have the backpack here, right, Heili?
Okay. All right, good. And who was it, Lloyd, that does not have one? Okay, so you have the 16 wires you're going to have to do. Have you ever done anything with yours before, Robert?
Yeah, I actually had it working. I actually have a sketch built up for it and everything. So I'm just kind of looking to find the lesson for it right now.
Okay, good. So that means since you've already had it working, and do you currently have it wired up too?
No, I'm working on it right now.
All right, good. So we shouldn't have to take any time. If you get stuck, let me know. And then once you do have it set up, what I'll do is I'll have you spend about 5 minutes just showing what you did so that it's out on the YouTube. Those people, if they're working along or if somebody watches it later, they can, because I haven't actually had the opportunity to use one that uses the wiring instead of the backpack. So while you work on that, let's get started on the web page. So the first thing is, if you scroll down just a little bit, you're going to see it says note there are 3 or more versions of the 2 and 4 line displays. Check the small backpack interface board on the back. So basically what it's going to do is version 1, version 2, and version 3 each have a little different backpack. And so there may be 1 or 2 little things you have to do different. And this one kind of tells you a little about them right here. And if I click on the version 1 link, it's just going to jump me down the page farther. And it's just, and the picture is what you want to do is hold up your LCD display with the backpack and look on the back. And this tells you the key things to look for. Actually, I think we have to go back up higher where we were before. So, nope. Go back down here again. What you're really looking for is this little right here where is A0, A1, and A2. That's going to be the key if you have a version 1. It should look a lot like this. It may have different words out here on the green portion, which is actually the LCD display. That could be a different make. But what you're looking for is your backpack to look like this one and have this A0, A1, and A2 little solder pads or LEDs. And then if you scroll down to version 2, you'll see this one looks substantially different. This one has the potentiometer built in right in the middle of the board instead of up here further, and it doesn't have that little A0, A1, and A2. They're off on the side over here. And then version 3 looks again very similar to version 1. And I think, let's see if I can find where it told us what the difference is. You see it has an A1, A0, A1, A2 underneath the potentiometer. But let me see where, let's see. Some of these boards, right here I'm reading this note, some of the board type board come with A0, A1, A2 connections that are not bridged with solder as shown in the photo. Okay, so that's the difference. Let's take a look at that picture again. If you look carefully right here, right here, right here, there's actually 2 little pads there and they're bridged with solder. If we go back up to version 1, that looks almost identical. You can see there's just a little bit of a gap in between there. So these 2 pads on each of these are not bridged with solder. So that's kind of the difference between a version 1 and a version 3. Otherwise, they're almost identical. And before I go too much further, I just want to, since I mentioned the potentiometer a minute ago, when you run an LCD like this, you want to have a potentiometer because that's how you adjust the brightness of the display. So the backpack is really nice, gives you a potentiometer built in. If you're using the wired version like Robert, then some of these 16 connectors here actually go to a potentiometer that you have to mount on your breadboard and put in your circuit to allow you to change the brightness. And it's not just something that's nice to have, it's almost necessary because it may be too bright to actually read the characters. You typically have to turn it down to, you know, if it comes on full brightness, you won't even be able to read the characters. They just disappear. So that's something we'll be adjusting later on. And Robert or anybody else out there in YouTube that's got to do the hardwired version is going to need to put a potentiometer in there to adjust it. Let's find out real quick. Oh, okay. Can you send them an email or not? Or where do you want? Oh, okay. So how can we get that to them? Okay. Let me grab this real quick, and I'm gonna. There you go. How's that? Okay. All right, I'll have to stop screen sharing for a moment. Or just stop screen sharing. We gotta get the link posted for the panel. Here, did it show up this time? Oh, I don't have that open. If somebody has if somebody can post the link, the panel link, somebody else that has YouTube open, if they do, I don't want to kill my computer by opening another page. So, all right, back to what we're doing here. Sorry about that. Just trying to get somebody else in on the panel. So going back to this, I think we just got done talking about potentiometers and the 3 different versions. Is there anybody out there that doesn't have, that's version doesn't look like any one of these? Do they have a backpack that doesn't fit one of these 3 versions? And if so, jump in now. Otherwise, I'm going to assume that you do. Everybody does. Okay, good. That's glad to see you on again tonight, Sam. All right, so one of the differences, the big difference, and this is what I found out, you're kind of wondering, well, why is version 3 the same as version 1, except those solder pins or those pads are soldered together. This LCD has to have an address, just like a lot of things in electronics. So in order for the I2C network to talk to that backpack, it needs to have an address so it knows it's being talked to, so to speak, in layman's terms. And as you scroll down, this is a really important part to read right here. I mean, it kind of tells you about that. I'm not going to get into it right now, but I'm trying to find the thing that when I first did this, everything seemed right, but it didn't work for me until I ran across this little note right here. I'm going to highlight it so you see which one I'm talking about. Note, most displays use I2C address 0x27, but a few, apologize, I'm not screen sharing. I forgot to switch over, so let's get back to that. Well, this is not a good night for me. Sorry about that. I hope you guys have patience and hang in there. Hopefully things will start turning around. So on this page under version 1, this is the note that I was reading a second ago. Most displays use I2C address 0x27, but a few, including those labeled MH, use 0x3F. Change in code below. What they're saying is you have to literally change that in your sketch, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. But within your sketch, you actually have to call out the address for your LCD, and by default, they have the 0x27 in the sketch. Well, when I first hooked up my LCD way back when I first got my Arduino, I couldn't get it to work until I found this, read this, and changed my address to this 0x3F. Then all of a sudden, everything worked fine. And for those astute observers out there, you'll realize that the picture that they use when they post for my show is actually a picture that I took using the LCD display. I created that, laid it on the keyboard of my laptop, and took that picture, and that's what we use for the picture that's used for advertising this show. So that was actually way back when I first, the last time I actually used the LCD also, but I did have to change the address to get it working. So some of you may end up doing that tonight if you have a version 1. Let's scroll down to version 2 and see what they say about the address. There's no note about that on version 2, so I'm assuming they all have the same address. Let's see what version 3 says. Note, this will have an address of 0 0x27, not 0x20. So there might be a couple versions here too, but the key thing is we just have to try different addresses in our sketch till we get the LCD to respond. And that's what happens.
Well, Chris, there is a sample sketch that will find I2C addresses for you.
Yeah, I do believe that's farther down on this page actually too.
Yep.
If you scroll down, I2C address scanner for your Arduino. Well, it's for they sell things to the Arduino, but yeah, here's a neat little sketch that you can upload if you can't find your address for some reason, and it'll actually run through and figure out what your address is for you. And then right underneath that is how to change addresses. You're thinking to yourself, well, okay, that's great. I have an address of 0x27. What happens if I want 2 LCDs for my particular project? Well, by soldering across those pads in different combinations, you can come up with all these different addresses right here. So that's what the A0, A1, and A2 things are that we've been talking about. So by changing different combinations of which ones are connected or which ones are not, you can come up with different addresses. So we'll cross that bridge if we get to it tonight, if anybody runs into any difficulty. But I think for now, let's go ahead and just go ahead and build our project, so to speak. And it's really simple. If you scroll back up to the top here, there's only 4 wires that are going to come out of this backpack. You see they got a nice little connector with 4 wires. Well, most of us just have the jumper wires. We'll use a male to female connector, but basically it's just power, 5 volts, a ground, and then 2 other wires that go to your Arduino. And that's all it takes. And if you notice right here, one of those pins is called SDA and one is called SCL. And right underneath that, it tells you that SDA is analog pin 4 on an Uno and SCL is analog pin 5 on the Uno. So those would be your A4 and A5, and as soon as I stop screen sharing, I'll show you those pins. Most of you should be familiar enough by now to find those. There's also a cool little feature on the Arduino that I really didn't even know about until I started reading this again, and I haven't even looked at mine to see if it's on there, but oh yeah, there it is. There's an additional set of pins on your Arduino. You should see it's called ISCP. You should find a little bank of 6 pins somewhere on your Arduino if you're using an Uno. There's 2 pins on there that we can actually use instead of using pins 4 and pin 5. Analog pin 4 and analog pin 5. What that does is that frees up those 2 pins to be used for something else. So if you're using I2C, and it doesn't even have to be this LCD, it could be any of the things on a Arduino that you can buy that utilize the I2C network, you can connect to those 2 pins, and that's what I'm going to do tonight as soon as we get there, which is going to be right about now. Okay. Well, thank you, Andrew, for posting that. And I'll just scroll down one more time. It is on this web page. It's just copy and paste this sketch. Everything I'm working off right now is all on this same web page. It's a real long web page as you scroll up and down, but it's, so far to me, it's been everything I needed to know about these LCDs. So it's pretty awesome. Nice website. Appreciate their efforts. So I'm going to stop sharing now and let's build this thing. Okay. Let's see it. Yeah, let's check in on Robert and see how he's doing quick.
I was missing something in getting the LED to actually the light to turn on. So I had to go back through. I redid it all, started over again, because for some reason that's what helps.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is real quick. I'm going to show how to do one with a backpack. That'll only take 2 minutes, and then we'll jump over to you and let you explain what you needed to do. It looks like a lot of wires, but I think it's fairly simple. Just a matter of which pin on your Arduino you have to connect them to, other than adding the potentiometer into the circuit.
Ground to ground.
It's pretty much just straight wires from the LCD to the Arduino. So, Johnny, if you want to put mine back up real quick here. So here's, grab a little wire to use for a pointer. But if you look on my Arduino, right here is this bank of 6 pins. I've seen pictures online where it might be up over here near the top. Depends on if you bought a clone or a genuine Arduino, but 2 of those pins are the ones we're going to want to use. You know what? Actually, I'm just going to use 4 and 5 for now, because I didn't mark down which 2 were. They aren't marked on mine, and rather than spending the time going back to that other page, we could try that later on. But all we got to do is I'm going to pull out my handy dandy jumper wires, and these are the male on one end, female on the other, because those will slide right onto the end pins of your LCD. So going back to my web page, and I'm just going to look at it on my screen just real quick, and you guys might want to do the same. Just scroll down a little bit from the top until you see the picture with the wires and the connector. And of course, it says you're going to connect the 5 volt to 5 volts, which is the VCC connection. So I'm just going to put the female end on there. Must be wearing these out. They don't want to go on very good. There we go. Connect that to my 5 volt. Or actually, I'm going to use this one. I gotta switch back and make sure you can see that. And then there's one ground, the GND pin on your backpack. Of course, you're going to put that to a ground or a GND pin on your Arduino. And I'll just take this nice green wire, and I'm going to quick look back at the other web page. So the SDA connection goes to analog pin 4. So when I look on mine, the SDA is the one that's right next to the power. And then the analog pin 4, which is A4. It's not the 4 over here, it's A4 on this side over there. And then the last wire just goes to analog pin 5, and that's your SCL wire. Now those designations are common for any I2C, I do believe. It's just not specific to this LCD. So once you get used to that terminology, if you're using I2C on other projects that you have, it'll be the same thing. So basically, this is all it takes to connect it. I'm good to go on my end. Okay, so hopefully I can get that to stay. Now, before I go ahead and connect it and load up the sketch, let's check in with Robert. Johnny, if you want to put him up on screen. Robert? Yeah. All right, so let's take a look at what he's doing and let him give us a couple minutes real quick on what he did for the people out on YouTube if they're using the same hardwired connection instead of the back. Okay, so essentially what it looks like he did was he took looks like the pins are spaced correctly on that LCD, and he just plugged it right into his breadboard.
Basically, yeah.
And then
I just followed along along with the sketch on the Arduino website. Here, I'll bring that. I'll screen share that for you, Johnny.
Yeah, that would be good, because I'm sure there's people out there besides you that have the non-backpack version, so this will be good for them to see where to find it.
So I just did a search in the Arduino website for the liquid crystal display, and there's what it'll give you. But then I went down to really get a good idea of where my wires had to go. I went down to this one and looked at the fritzing diagram for it, and it's really pretty helpful. It just doesn't use, it basically doesn't use the 4 pins towards the middle.
Okay.
But I think I've got something wrong because it's not actually reading. Of course, then again, I may have fried my LCD screen also.
Did you put a potentiometer in there and try adjusting that?
Yeah.
Okay, because that was a problem I found too when I first did get mine to light up. I couldn't really read anything until I adjusted the potentiometer, because it comes on really bright. So I guess if anybody on YouTube is trying to connect one of these, your best bet then is go to the Arduino website, and it looked like it was under tutorials, and find the one for LCD and kind of copy that fritzing diagram. I know it's going to take you longer to get wired up. I'm just going to watch Robert for a minute, see if he has any luck. Have you loaded up the sketch yet?
Oh yeah, I got the sketch all loaded up and everything, and now it wants to fight with me.
Okay, so while you do that, let's go load up our sketches. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go back to screen sharing and show you which sketch we're going to try. Oh. Now were you on
Most
for that?
people don't.
Were you on for that, Johnny, or should I repeat that for? Okay. All right, so I screwed up something here again on my share again here. This computer is just not cooperating like usual. All right. Wow. Look, I'm sharing, but I don't have the tunnel. That's cool. Problem is I lost my Arduino webpage. I'll try it over here. Okay, got it in the window. Can you see this now? Or are we back at? Okay. So as we scroll down under each of these versions, it has a sketch. And if you read carefully at the top, it says, I'm going to use version 1 because that's the version I have. If you guys have a different version, a version 2 or a version 3, then you're with the backpacks, you're going to have to scroll down and then read carefully, because some of these they have multiple sketches, one for a 4-line 20 character, like Dave said he has. But then underneath it, you'll find the same thing for a 16 by 2. I do believe. I thought I saw those in here. Does anybody have a version 2? If so, jump in and say yes. If we don't hear anything, we'll assume nobody does. Does anybody have a version 3? Nope. Okay, so everybody has a version 1 then, I'm assuming. Nobody's speaking up, so we're just going to go ahead and copy this sketch. Actually, there's 2 ways. I think if we, no, they don't have a copy command. I love those web pages where you just hit a button and it copies it to your clipboard for pasting. So just going to highlight the whole thing. And once again, be careful you get all the characters at the very bottom too. I'm going to copy that to my clipboard, and then I'm going to go ahead to my Arduino IDE and start a new sketch. So everybody should have your Arduino IDE up and running now, and then go ahead and paste the code in that you copied from that page. Now I'm just going to scroll up and down, make sure I didn't copy more than I wanted to. Looks pretty good. So before we dive into the sketch and how it works, I'm just going to go ahead and try and upload it. So I'm going to plug in my Arduino. Well, there's a good sign. My LCD immediately lit up when I plugged in the Arduino. So I must have done something right. I'll do a save as or save the sketch so that it typically won't let you upload if you don't. Upload button. While that's uploading, I'm going to stop screen sharing so that we can see what happens. I got too many windows open now. Okay, there we go. So this is what I got as soon as I plug mine in. I'm going to go back, check my sketch. It's still compiling. It's a bigger than normal sketch, and of course we all know how slow my computer is. So, and I also didn't do what I probably should have done and check which COM port I'm on. Looks like I should be on the right COM port, but if not, it's going to fail on me. Usually when it takes this long, that's what happens. So you think by now I'd get the hang of it, but I actually haven't had any Arduino time since our last show. So I'm 2 weeks out of practice. And let's see, while we wait for this to compile, Johnny, you want to jump around? Jump around and show what everybody else is doing? Okay, so Dave, let's see what you got. You got yours reading and you're using your 4-line 20, I see. Oh, and there's your little backpack. I didn't see that before because I was, is that an extra backpack or is that?
Yep,
gotta
that
be
is
put
an
onto
extra
your-
backpack. That's exactly what's on
Okay.
soldered onto the back of this one.
Version 1, right?
Yep, you could pick those up for next to nothing on different electronic sites.
Yeah, so that's a great point. So those of you guys that don't have a backpack on yours right now, instead of running all that wiring, you buy one, right in those 16 holes on your LCD and you solder them on and you're good to go.
In fact, that's exactly what I did with this 2x16 display. I took one of those backpacks and I actually soldered it on here because I had the display without a backpack and I wanted that, so I just put it on there and it works exactly the same as the 4x20, which came with the backpack.
Okay. So my sketch is now done uploading, but let's just take a quick peek at the other guys. JD, how you doing there?
Trying to get the we're trying to get the library installed.
Oh, that's a good point. I forgot all about that because I had it previously installed. So let's go back and do that. For those of you that are out there in YouTube, that's a great point. Thank you, Johnny.
Yeah, unfortunately, will not compile otherwise.
Johnny, JD. Yep. So I can share my screen real quick and show you what we got to do. So hopefully you guys are all getting good enough by now that you caught that without my assistance. But go Go back to this sketch again. Now I've got so much going, I'm losing bandwidth here again. You can do it. There we go. So you notice at the very top of our sketch, it says include wire.h. Comes with Arduino IDE. That's okay, but there's another one hidden below here. It says include underscore I2C.h. So for those of you that never loaded a library before and only have used libraries that came with the Arduino IDE, you'll get to have your first experience loading a library. And it does tell you how to do that, I do believe, on this page. If I can ever get there. Take a look at the top here. And work our way down. Oh, there we go. And it was right at the top. So here's, at the very top says how to install libraries. You should actually important LCD library information. All these displays now use the great library written by F. Mel Partita. You should download that library here, so you can click on the link on your web page and then download this zip file on the how to install libraries, which I'll do right now. It's a little sidetrack here, but I've done it once or twice now, and it's really pretty easy. So IDE, click Sketch, include library, add library. So navigate to that zip file. So do what they say. Go into your IDE, click on the sketch, and then it pop out, and then it'll say include library, and then add zip library, and it'll let you browse out and pick that folder that you just downloaded, or that zip file that you just downloaded. And that's pretty much all that's to it. And like it says, if right here, if the library is successfully, you will see this in the lower status bar of your IDE. In other words, down here, you're saying library added to your libraries. And the new library is immediately recognized by the IDE without restarting, so you don't even have to restart. So if anybody gets stuck on that, just post up in the chat if you're out on YouTube, and I'll have Johnny stop me and we'll come back to that. But hopefully everybody can upload that fairly quickly and easily. Okay, so there was a comment from Andrew about the I2C library and a different library. So parallel screen library, which I don't know where you would find that, unless it would be potentially, if you could post a link to that out on YouTube that people that are out there could see it. This web page that we're dealing with strictly deals with the I2C backpacks, so you would find that other one. But it sounds like you need a different library if you're not using an I2C backpack.
I would
So
think Robert's probably using that one.
Yeah, Robert, what library do you have? Oh, you must be muted.
Sorry,
Okay,
what was the question?
What library are you using for yours?
It is using the Liquid Crystal library.
It is, okay. Andrew had a comment about a parallel something or other library for ones that don't have the I2C backpack. Maybe that's what your problem is, because you are lit up. Maybe it just needs either that, or you may need to try a different address.
I don't think he would be using addresses because address is very specific for the I2C.
Oh, yeah, good point. That makes sense. Okay. So where were we? Oh yeah, we were. I think we were about to look at my. We got off on a tangent there, but it's stuff that we got to know. So we were just kind of looking at everybody's projects, and then I was going to go ahead and see if mine actually works now that I have it loaded. So I'm going to stop sharing. And a long time ago, while we were doing this, mine says done uploading. So let's read this and see what it's supposed to be doing. Because mine doesn't look like it's doing anything right now. So going back to the Arduino IDE and starting at the top and reading what it says, and it doesn't really tell you right away what it's going to do. So let's scroll down a little bit. Share, since I'm going to spend a little time looking at this. All jumping around, but I guess it doesn't pay for you to stare at my blank screen there, right? All right, so starting from the top, 16 by 16 character 2-line I2C display.
There we go.
Oh, sounds like Robert had some luck. Now, you know what? Right here is that same thing we saw on the web page. Most use address 0x27. A few use 0x3f. So the first thing, and that's probably why mine's not functioning right now. It lights up, but it's not doing anything. So here, I know for a fact mine uses the other one because the last time I tried to use this a long time ago, it didn't work until I did this. So right here in my line of code where it says liquid crystal underscore I2C LCD 0x27, I'm going to change that to 3F. I'm going to save my sketch and upload again. And hopefully this time it'll upload fairly quickly since it's already compiled once and uploaded. And this time I would expect to see, and while that uploads, I'll stop sharing again and we can see if this comes on immediately after it gets done uploading. Sketch, when I scroll down, it basically, when you read through the code, it's going to say hello world, hi, your Arduino.com, and then it's going to go into a loop where you can type things in on your serial monitor and it'll display that on the screen. Okay, so I see Sam had a comment there, and I'm just kind of looking through my code too. It says use serial MON LCD print. Okay, and then type to display. So that, let's go ahead and start the serial monitor if you haven't done so already, because that's loaded by the sketch. Right now, going back to see, mine says it's done uploading, but I don't see that it's doing anything yet. So looks like I'm having a failure at this point other than having light on my LCD. So Sam, yours would be correct, because first it's gonna, when we read through the sketch, it says it's gonna say hello world, it's gonna wait a second, then it's gonna say hi, yourarduino.com, then it's gonna wait 8 seconds, then it's gonna go ahead and hit the cursor, or set the cursor at 00, meaning the first character on the first line. Then it's going to say, tell you use serial monitor, type to display. So if you're seeing that, you're good to go. And I think all you need to do then is open your serial monitor like this and type something in and hit enter, and it should show up on your display from that point forward. So mine has obviously failed because I haven't seen Hello World and I haven't seen say hi to me yet, and it's not prompting me to use my serial monitor. So now I get to figure out why. Anybody else have any luck?
Chris, I think you have your 2 wires backwards for A4 and A5.
No, I see what I did. It's not backwards. I put A5 into A3.
That'll do it.
There you go. All right. Let me,
Just hit the reset on the Arduino.
oh, okay. Too late. I already hit upload. Like Dave said, I suppose I could have simply hit reset. We'll check my sketch and make sure there isn't somewhere else I need to change that address to. Down through here, I only see that address called out the one time, and I did change it. Oh, look at that. It's blinking. All right, I got it. There we go. Now it should be delaying. Now it says use serial monitor type to display. So if I go to my serial monitor, I'm just going to type my Arduino fans. That might be too much, but oh, there it is. Look at that. Awesome. Okay, so Sam's got a comment out there. You type something in, from what I understand. Now Johnny's going to relay this to me. So you type something in. Do you get something on your first line or just one? I'm just going to fill. Okay, so everything is going on only one line at this point in time. Nothing on the second line. And I think the reason for that is in our sketch. Do you want to, Johnny, do you want to jump on live and read that for me? So everybody else can hear it too. It helps because then everybody else is just hearing crickets well. So here we go. Johnny's got a comment from Andrew and I'm not seeing those. So
Right,
Johnny's got to read them for me.
Yeah, I'm going to back up a little bit. Brunette 42. When I went to serial monitor, I get 2 lines about the hello world. Andrew comment, if he'll quit scrolling so I can read. All right. Andrew's comment was LCD dot begin with a open curve bracket 20,4 open bracket semicolon turn on backlight. LCD dot backlight with the 2 open brackets empty semicolon LCD dot set cursor open bracket 0, 0 open bracket semicolon LCD print open bracket quote welcome quote open bracket semicolon.
Okay, so that's what that's going to do is that's for a 20x4 display. And it looks like I was just following my sketch right along with that. I'm assuming he's using a different sketch because if he's got the 20,4 on the LCD dot begin bracket 20,4, that means it's initializing a 20 20 character 4-line display. So if you don't have that, that might be a problem right to start with. But then everything else was the same on mine, except when he got down to the LCD.print, hello, comma, world instead.
Yeah.
But that code that he set up there would be perfect for somebody to put in and just get it to say welcome. So I'm not sure if he was posting that for somebody, because I don't think there's a real question in that.
No, there's
statement,
no question.
So Sam, have you had any better luck on yours out in YouTube land there? Typed in like more than 16 characters, and I'm still only getting, as you can see, one line. If I just put all T's on there, once it goes beyond 16 characters, I don't get anything on the second line. But to do that in a minute, we'll just start hacking up this sketch and playing around with it and see what we can do. But before we do that, I just want to make sure everybody's had the chance to get it up and running.
Hey, Chris.
Anybody?
Yeah. We're having a little problem here. A few minutes ago, it was saying error uploading. That's all it was saying. So now it's uploaded, but we got nothing. I just want to make sure the wires are correct. The two other pins, I can't read. SDA and SCL. Where did they go in the Arduino?
The SDA, I'm going to turn mine over just to make sure. Yeah, the SDA goes to analog 4. That's the A4 pin, not the one that's just 4.
I got that
over here.
Okay.
But the actually analog 4, and then the SCL goes to analog 5, which is your very end pin over here.
Yeah.
We had an analog.
So when Heili put that in, we put it in the wrong one.
We put it on analog 3.
I did the same thing, so.
So now we still have a blank though, and I've set mine to 027.
I hit reset on the Arduino.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's see what happens. Yep, hit the reset, and you may need to try the other address now. You may need to change your sketch to say OX3F instead of OX27.
Yeah, but the other thing you could try is
error uploading. And we had reset
if you're not
times over. Let's see what happens.
Well, it shouldn't error uploading because of the address. It must be something else. Do you have your COM port correct?
Flashing.
Yeah, we changed the COM ports around a couple of times.
If it's flashing now, you're.
Yeah.
There's nothing showing.
I wonder if the brightness is too bright or something, or we may need to.
Yeah, try turning down the brightness. Because that flashing is actually the first part of the code. That means it's actually responding and doing what the program or the sketch is telling it to do. So first it flashes, then it says hello world, screwdriver, and adjust the potentiometer on the back, which is, if you look on my screen, a little blue potentiometer, just get a little screwdriver and turn it one way or turn it the other way.
Well, you know how it is. My wife took my screwdriver set out right out of my drawer and didn't put it back. So I'm waiting my daughter to go get that for me.
Use a dime.
Yeah, that's a little small for that.
Yeah.
All right, hang on.
See,
I'm going to kind of mess the screen up, but, you know, it's what it is. Where'd he go?
Okay, so.
All right, Andrew, I sent you. All right, Andrew, I just sent you a link. Hopefully you'll get it. Otherwise, I can't help you.
Okay, so looks like Robert got his working, Dave's got his working, I've got mine working, and we're about to get JD working.
Yeah, I think Andrew was just saying that too bright, so he must be referring to JD.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting for the screwdriver so we can turn it down. I would suspect it might be just because I can't see any characters, just bright green.
Yeah, that's what I had the first time I turned mine on.
Yours is blue or green?
Too bright. Mine's blue.
Yeah, mine's green. So we'll see.
Okay, so while we wait for that, start screen sharing again, and we'll take a look at the sketch and see how we can start hacking up the sketch. And oh, there's the screwdriver. Let's wait 1 second before it. If it looks brighter, then go the other way. If it eventually should either brighten or dim. I can see the blocks a little bit on the top line, but it still looks awful bright. That might be just the camera doing that, though.
When you get it turned down just a little bit, hit the reset button on the Arduino.
Because once, if you had the, yeah, see, the flashing is the first part of the sketch.
Yep.
And then the words should come up.
Okay, there it goes. That's working.
All right, so now if you open your, once you open your serial monitor, you should be able to start typing something, and then it'll show up, but only on the
Shows up
top
as a
line.
white screen.
Yeah, it doesn't, it's not showing it all for us.
Yeah, so let me see if I can turn down some more. Okay, so maybe the other way.
Should be able to turn it almost off eventually.
See the screwdriver.
Yeah, I know mine looks a little on screen too. Mine's actually a very blue with white letters. And it looks like on my computer, it looks like kind of a off green with yellowish letters. So it definitely plays tricks with the camera. But you were able to read the words, I'm
At
assuming,
an angle,
the hello world.
I can read them at an angle.
Okay, so you know they're there. It's just, then it's
I
just a
can't get
matter of
pop
the
to go any
contrast.
further. So maybe I can
Still
do it
can't.
at an angle. Yeah, I can't get the potentiometer to go any lower.
And you went all the way the other way
I
too?
don't have a backpack.
Yeah, it washes out the other way.
Should I turn the whole light off?
Okay. So let's, I want to jump back to the screen share while you're working on that. And we'll start dissecting our sketch a little bit.
It's a pretty bright display. I can see the text clearly, but it's not showing up on camera.
Yeah.
It's right now saying
Okay.
serial
Well, as
monitor.
long as you can,
Yeah.
as long as you can see it clearly, that's what counts. So, all right. So starting at the top of this sketch, the first thing you do is include wire.h. So it's loading a library called wire. And let's back up and see if we can tell what that, I don't know offhand what that library is for. If somebody knows, they could jump in.
Yeah, that library is what enables the SDA and the SCL to work.
Oh, okay.
So
So
that
that's,
enables I2C.
okay, very good. Yeah, because the next one here, include liquid crystal underscore I2C, that's enabling the liquid crystal display, or the LCD, with an I2C backpack. So not only do you need the LCD library for the LCD display, but you need the wire.h for the I2C network, so to speak, which is kind of what it is. So
Right. And just as a point, Chris, that wire.h comes with the Arduino library. It's built in.
right. So then, as you scroll down, liquid crystal underscore I2C LCD, here's where we set the address, and this is what it tells each of the pins to do. Now, if you didn't have the backpack you're going to end up with a similar command, but it won't say liquid crystal I2C. It might be whatever the name of the library you had to load for your LCD is. But these are basically, I think, just define the pins for, and that depending on the LCD that you have. So we can't get into too many details there, but then we get the setup portion, void setup, and it starts the serial monitor. It starts the LCD, defines it as 16 line or 16 characters, 2 lines. Then this is where those 3 blinks come in. It's just a for loop to turn on and off the backlight. That's where you get the flash. So it does it 3 times. I equals 0, I is less than 3, I plus plus. That's just telling it to repeat this 3 times. So that's why you see the 3 flashes. It's just turning the backlight on and off. Then we get down to the brunt of the code, and we're not even in the loop section yet, by the way. We're still in, so all these things are only going to happen once.
I mean, JD, just a thought for you. In your code, you could try, as after it blinks the backpack 3 times, put in there no backlight. Then you might be able to read your display a little bit better without the backlight turned on.
Yeah, I mean, I can read it. It's just not showing up on camera, but I'll try that.
Just a thought.
So does it still display the characters just without a backlight if you turn
That
the
is
backlight
correct,
up?
yes.
Okay, because I never tried that, so that's good to know. So if you turn off your backlight, and you could do that, just by commenting out, or even just copying. I'm going to scroll back up here and show you how to do that real quick. Then you could just comment out this by putting the / in front of it, and the same thing here. It's telling it to turn on the backlight. I'm thinking if you comment out the whole thing, never turn on the backlight, does it come on by default? Oh yeah, see here
it does, yeah.
See, it went dark right there. See, that's what happens when you turn the backlight off.
Yeah, but if you adjust your contrast, you should be able to see it come back on. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I had not actually tried that.
Okay. It would be kind of neat to know, though, if you could just light up the letters, and not the background color. But yeah. All right, so I guess we don't need to go down that road anymore.
Messing with it a bit.
So back to here now. It's the next set of instructions is to put the cursor at the first position on the first line. Line 1 is actually 0. And it's actually this 0 here. So this is later on when we start playing around this. This is where we can define, if you want, like on your screen, you might have it start in position 4 or 6, and then the second character tells you which line it's going to be on. So 0 is line 1 and 1 is line 2. So then it's telling it lcd.print just tells it to put these words on the display at that position where the cursor is. Then it's going to delay 1,000 milliseconds or 1 second. Then it's going to set the cursor on position 1 on line 2. And it's going to say, hi, you're Arduino.com. So that's when you first restart it. Like I'm going to hit the reset button on mine. And it should flash 3 times, which it's doing right now. Then it says hello world on line 1. Pauses for a second, then lights up, hi, you're Arduino.com on line 2. Then there's the delay for 8 seconds, so it just kind of sits there. And eventually, then the next thing it's going to do is it's going to reset the cursor to first position on line 1. In fact, this LCD clear right here, use that anytime you want to wipe out what it says on the screen. It does exactly what it says. It clears your screen. And then there's set cursor. So we come back, set the cursor back line 1 in the first position, and then it types the word use serial mon. Hey mon, let's use the serial mon. Jamaica mon. and then set cursor to position 0 on the next line or line 2 and then type to display. So this is what you'll see next. And there it's going to sit until you actually type something in on the serial monitor. You notice there's no delay or anything right here. The next thing it does, it goes directly into the void loop. And the first thing it says is if serial available, wait a bit, you know, so basically when something happens on the serial in your serial monitor, then it's going to do something. So until then, it's just going to sit there and say that same message, use serial mon, type to display. Once I actually type something in my serial monitor, then all of this stuff in the loop is going to take place. And because we're now in the loop, none of this up here will happen again until you restart your Arduino, either with the reset button or by turning off the power and turning it back on. What it's going to ever do once you type something in is it's going to wait for you to type something in, and then it'll leave that on a display until you type something else in. So the if command, if serial is available, meaning as soon as you type something, then it's going to delay a millisecond or 100 milliseconds, a tenth of a second. Then it's going to clear the display. Then it's going to read what you typed in, and then it's going to print it with the right display. And that's it. So that's pretty much the whole sketch. So if we want to start busting this apart and doing something different, like how are we going to get something on line 2? Right now, if anybody else able to get anything to show up on line 2 once you start typing in your serial monitor?
Hey, Chris,
I
I just want to break in for just a second. I did confirm that you could turn the backlight out and still read your display. If you bring up my screen, Johnny, you could see that the text is still there. I had to make real big adjustments on the contrast knob on the back. I went all the way to the end, before the text, could be readable. It's really hard to read, but once again, the backlight is out. So just
okay,
so
well, that's good to know.
Possible.
Yeah, I could read the characters when the backlight was off.
Right.
So I knew they were there, but it's still the camera won't pick that up either unless I really, like you said, adjust the contrast.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to read, but.
So let's try that real quick. I'll show anybody else wants to try that. I'll show you how you can do that. Using the same sketch, if we go, let's see what you got, Robert. Before I do that.
It's working.
Welcome to the RHL. And you're counting too. Sweet.
So I'll be honest with you, after sitting here watching you guys trying to figure out those backpacks, I'm really glad I don't have one. But my code is also so much simpler too. So check out, here's the code for it. In mine, I just load the liquid crystal library, and then all I have to do is set the pins to tell it which ones to push through. In my void setup, it begins on 16 and 2, and then it prints welcome to the, and then I actually dropped it down one. I inserted this here so that I could use part of the second row. Did this set cursor to 0, 1, which would set it all the way over to the side over there, and then printed out my second line of text. In my loop, I set the cursor farther over to the left-hand side so that my RHL was not bugged out, and then just set the milliseconds to run in it. Super simple, super easy to play with.
Yeah, and you notice the reason he can get that to work, because you're thinking, all right, so first he put RHL on line 2, and now he's also putting his count. That's what the millis command does. It just counts off the millisecond since you turned on your Arduino. But you notice the way he gets away with that is by not using the clear command. If you wanted to have something on the first row or the second row and then replace it, you pretty much have to use the clear command. Because if you don't, you can literally do this. You could put something way to the left, you could put something in the center, and you could put something in the right, and you could put them in at different times. As long as you don't use the clear command and they don't overlap and reuse a character, you should be okay. So you could literally three lines, you could put three different things, 3 lines of code, you could put 3 lines of 3 different words of text in 3 different positions on the same line in your display.
Now, without the backpack, and I don't know if it's the same with the backpack, Chris, you could probably enlighten us with that one. But I actually have to count out the characters to figure out where it's going to line out.
Yeah, you have to do the same thing on here.
And the space
I don't think there's
count as a character.
I don't think there's a lot of difference in the between yours and the backpack, other than some of the actual I2C functions. I think everything else is probably pretty close to the same. But yeah, that principle is definitely the same yet. I mean, you count out the characters literally on the display on where you want it to come in. Depends on, like, the 16 character display. If you're using that, it means 16 of them left to right across one row. But you could put like a 4-letter word way to the left starting at the first character. You could put a 4-letter word in the middle, and you could put a 4-letter word way on the right, just by putting blank spaces. And you could do it all in one line of code by just putting the spaces in there, or you could do it in 3 different lines of code at different times by defining a different starting character position.
All right, Andrew's got a
So,
comment.
Chris, they would superimpose each other, right? If you didn't do the clear screen,
I believe they would. I haven't actually
like a
done
printer
it.
printing on itself, where when it get, you remember the old dot matrix when they would get stuck?
Right, or maybe it's possible it'll display all the characters or all the pixels for each of the characters at the same time. I don't know. I haven't actually done it, so.
Well, anyway, if you look at mine, hold on, I had it up.
Yeah.
So took a picture of it. Just,
Look here.
right here. There you go.
Yeah,
So
the last, there you there you go.
Got a
that's
comment.
Johnny says, Andrew had a comment.
Yeah, Andrew's comment, my mic's on. So if you're not using the backlight and turn the brightness up, you can burn out the LCD. So turn the backlight, turn on the backlight, and turn up the brightness till you can read the display.
Okay.
So
So there's a little word of caution there. You can get away with it, but you could burn up your characters. So, all right, where were we? So let's. We got two choices here. We can either start a new sketch from scratch and just start playing around, or you can just start copying and pasting lines in here. I think what we were going to do was go ahead and show you how to comment out. Just comment out this LCD backlight things and don't ever turn it on would be the way to test. And I was going to do that, but Andrew's comment, I think we'll just leave well enough alone and I won't bother. So let's go down here and go all the way down to our void loop section. And what I need to do, and I'm sure one of you guys will be able to help me, I just want to study this a second. How can we add something in on the second line by using our serial monitor to type in? Because right now, everything just goes in on the first line. And it's not really setting, and I'm just wondering if that's why, because nowhere in here, other than potentially right here, is it telling us what character on what line we're putting it in. So
what I would do is right before that while loop, you could set your cursor Or actually,
But
probably
how-
right before the LCD display is where you would move your cursor to the second row. So that would be set cursor 2, 0.
But how is it going to know? How is it going to know when to shift? You know, when you're typing it in on your serial monitor, what to put on.
So
You know,
that
it could
shifts up.
potentially. Yeah, when is it going to
You
know
would have to
first
measure
line
the
versus
length. You
second
would
line?
actually have to do that manually, probably by measuring the length of the text that you put in. And if it's longer than 16 characters, you got to start on the first row instead of the second row.
Okay. So what we could do is just forget all about serial monitor and go ahead and put in whatever we want to type right in the code here. Would be one way we can do it. And that's kind of what I did when I made my own for that picture I was telling you about earlier. I just pretty much wiped out all of this stuff and just used some of these pieces of these commands to right here, the LCD write serial read. Well, we don't need that, but LCD write is a command. In fact, we could go find some sketches somewhere else to something, but I think we're kind of running short on time tonight. But if you kind of do the same thing I do, I'm sure everybody does, is go out on Google and I'll type like Arduino 16x2 LCD sketch, and then you just start browsing through web pages and even Arduino. Let's go right to the Arduino website, as a matter of fact. Am I still screen sharing, Johnny, with my sketch? Okay. I'm going to switch to my browser, and we'll just go to right to the Arduino website. I'm sure they have a sketch for this. Let's see what they have out there. But I would guess because they have a LCD library, there's, in fact, we could just look right in our, so built-in examples, display. No, that doesn't sound right. Whoops, that didn't work. Here, examples, because I just realized we loaded that liquid crystal display. There's got to be a bunch, so here they are right here. Serial display. We don't want to do that. We want to just LCD iSpeed. No idea what that is, but let's just try Hello World IC. That's probably going to be a very simple. Interesting. I've never seen this before. I'm sure some of you guys that have been doing this longer. Looks like they're defining stuff using a matrix of some sort.
Well, that was, one of the thoughts was you could take an array and load up your characters in there, and then you could parse that array and automatically go to the next line when you reach 16 characters. Or a variable could be set up in the code to tell you what size of LCD that you have. Define that up front.
Okay, it makes sense. Looks like they're doing something.
What that block of code there, though, is, go back up right there. That stuff, they're actually defining custom character. So,
oh, that makes sense. So if you want to use something more than a standard character, okay.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense because character bitmap.
Right.
Okay. Down here, you can just start looking at this and it's like, okay, LCD print, hello Arduino. Well, that's probably the basic command you need to just get it to type something. You can change these words to anything else you want it to be. Or you can set your cursor first if you want to define where. Kind of like, Robert, do you want to bring your sketch up again? John, you want to share his screen? His... Robert, you there yet? All right.
Yep.
You want to share your there? So let's take a look and see how simple his really pretty much is. So up in the setup, he's got LCD begin. So he's defining a 16:2. Then he's LCD print, welcome to the, and then he changes the cursor. So I think by default, if you don't define the cursor, or did you define that farther up in the setup?
No, I didn't. No, it's
so if you don't define the cursor at all, it's probably defaulting to the first position on the first line, would be my guess.
Yep.
And then, because he wanted to print a second line, then he had to set the cursor and do print. So those little 5 lines, actually 4 if you take out the comment, LCD begin, LCD print, LCD set cursor, LCD print. That's all you really need. And you could put that right in the setup and the thing would never change. You know, it's where he's got it right now. So if you guys, so the LCD begins 16:2. You didn't have, scroll up farther once. Didn't you have that up there once before or not?
nope.
No. Okay. So that's all you would really need if you're working on a 16:2 to type to put words in on 2 different lines. Now the difference between this and a serial monitor is here you're doing it by hard coding it, which means you can't change it without coming back to your sketch, changing the words, and re-uploading your sketch. So given a little time, and we don't have the time tonight unless somebody knows off the top of their head, it would be nice to be able to figure out how to do 2 lines using the serial monitor. I mean, we know we can do 1 and that's very simple, but how can we get something on that second line?
Actually, Chris, I did that on this 4x20 that I have. If you just type more than 16 characters, it should wrap around to the second line.
Yeah, mine was not doing that. I tried that. In fact, I even did that live. I was showing you guys with a whole series of the letter T. And then maybe it's a difference in versions. Let me monitor and try it one more time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Enter. And I have 1 line. The first line, I put in 24 T's, and then I got the top line full of T's and nothing on the second row.
Okay, if you look at my display though,
and maybe it's I wonder if it's a difference in the 4x20 or if it's something in the code for your 4x20 that isn't in the code for our 16:2.
What it looks like it did, I typed in a longer sentence that said, this is an example of more than 16 characters. You can see on the first line, it put half the sentence. On the third line, it puts the other half, and then comes back to the second line to do the third block. So it's broken up.
That's pretty funny.
And I think I would fix that in, but that's probably something embedded in the I2C backpack, because if you look at the actual write command, the write command is just writes the entire string at one time. And
so is there any, I wonder if there's any definition, you know, anything being defined earlier on in any of the commands that would tell it to line wrap and what line to wrap to or something like that too. But I don't, your code could be, because you're on a 14:2, I haven't looked for any.
Given what I see here, if you typed in more than 32 characters, you probably would see a wrap onto the second line. So you'd see the first 16, and then I suspect what there is a character buffer in there.
Well, let me try that once. I'm going to put a way more than 32. I'm just held down the button, hit enter. Very good. You're right. I just filled I'm going to probably put 50 of them in there, but now what it did was both lines of my display are filled with the letter T. So yeah, it must go 16, skip 16, and then do the next 16 from there. So you need, like you said, at least 24 characters before
Yeah.
24 characters would, or I should say, there's
32.
16 on the line. So yeah, more than 32, then it'll start typing in the second line. So,
But you're best off using the set cursor command to set yourself to the second line.
but how does that function with the with your serial monitor? That's,
Oh
wait a
yeah,
minute.
it doesn't. You would have to.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Are you guys looking at my screen? See that? Okay. So when I bring up my serial monitor, I gotta figure out where I was again. If you look at right here, there's a little drop down. So mine says no line ending, but there's more options. There's new line and there's carriage return. And then there's both new line and carriage return. So I'm not sure what the new line character would be, but let's just try carriage return and see what happens. So if I go 1, 2, 3, enter 1, 2, TTT, enter YYY. Oh, that didn't do it. Okay.
No.
So let's try.
And that's because that has nothing to do with the LCD backpack, the buffer in the LCD
Okay.
backpack. That's
Gotcha.
just the characters that the serial monitor sends back to the program after it's done. After you hit
Okay.
enter.
Darn, I thought I was onto something there.
Good try.
All right,
Well,
so we're not going to crack this nut tonight, obviously. So let's just review for you guys that want to keep goofing around with this a little. Johnny, you want to go back to Robert one more time? And Robert, you want to bring up your sketch? For those of you out on YouTube, I just want to show you those 4 simple lines is all you really need to be able to just program 2 lines of characters to say whatever you want it to say. And then what you could do is just put a delay in there and then copy that whole set of 4. Well, actually, you don't even need the begin is LCD begin. You only need once. So the print, set cursor, print. Then you could put in a delay and then copy those 3 lines again and put some different words in. So if you wanted to like say, I'm Chris, wait 10 seconds and then how are you? I am fine, and then just keep repeating that with whatever different words. So it could actually cycle through a whole multi-part message. And then if you put it in the loop area, it'll just repeat that loop over and over. So that'd be a simple way to, put a message. That's the other thing is there's some really cool commands that we didn't get to for like scrolling your text. So you see those banner signs where looks like the letters scroll across. If you look into it, there's commands to do that. Just start playing around, like I said, Google search for 16 by 2 character or 16 by 2 line LCDs. There's a bunch of sketches out there, and you can actually have a lot of fun with this. But
Chris,
I think we're going to kind of.
Seeing as you're on the topic of documentation, though, if you find that LCD library where it was installed, hang on a sec. I had to cough. Didn't want to do that online. There's some really good documentation in the new Liquid Crystal library. It's all HTML documentation. Let me share my screen and I'll show you what it kind of looks like. Share screen application. Let me find the right one here that I want to share.
So is that the same zip file that we downloaded from the Arduino website?
Yeah, in that Liquid Crystal library, there's some really good documentation in there. That's not what you want to see.
So what you guys would need to do then is find out where you downloaded that zip file to, and then within that zip file, there's some documentation.
Yeah.
is what Dave is saying.
Trying to find it and just share the one screen, but it doesn't want to share the one screen, so I'm just share the whole screen here. Oh, it didn't share. Let me try that again.
Do the share everything.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Screen one. Am I sharing? Which screen?
There we go.
Share?
I see it.
You got my screen up?
Yeah.
That's not
Well, I got
what I'm intending. Let's see. Let me put this over there. There we go.
there. Oh, be gone.
Yeah. All right. Well, my mic's on, so
We lost them.
I got a couple
All right,
comments here. I got a couple comments real quick, Chris. Redneck Railroader, are you getting these programs from the Arduino website? What is the site that you're on? So where have you been getting all your IDs and everything, sketches earlier in the show?
Okay, the sketch I was using earlier in the show came from that web page, and let me see if I still have it up. One of these. Hopefully I didn't close it. There we go. All right, can you see this web page?
Yes.
Okay, so it's
don't highlight it, they'll be able to read it, the URL.
Okay, so what I did was I Googled the word Yourduino, like YOURDUINO, 16 by 2, because that's the display I have, and then Wiki, WIKI, and it'll bring you pretty much, this will be the one that comes pretty much at the top of your search. But this page explains, oh, wait a minute, I'm on the wrong page. Sorry. I forgot we jumped into that library page. There we go. This is the page. And this explains all about these LCD displays, and then it has the sketches further down, one or two for each version of LCD display that you have. So this is the sketch I was using, but there are also sketches at Arduino, at the Arduino website. So if you go under Learning, Tutorials, let's see if there's any in here. I know they're in here somewhere earlier. So he didn't have the backpack, so this is where he found a sketch to use. Sorry, my computer's running awful slow right now again, so too many things open. Don't see anything in here, so there's always another possibility. Examples from libraries. This is where I find a lot of the sketches that I use. The ones that say built-in examples up here, that's for the ones where you can actually open it right in the IDE. Oh, there we go, liquid crystal. Yeah, here we go. Auto scroll, blink, cursor, display, hello world. Here's a whole bunch of ones that. Let's just make this homework for between now and next show, because I actually want to work with this again in conjunction with other pieces for the next show, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I hope that answers your question. And then Johnny, were there any other questions?
Yeah, just want to let Burnett42 know that if you go to the YouTube Model Builders community page on the left, there's a list of tabs. Scroll down towards the bottom, and we have created a Arduino tab. So if you have questions or something, issues, you can type it in right there. If you have something you want to show, you can add it right there. And hopefully Chris and Dave and everybody else involved will check that from time to time, so people are having issues, they can put it there and somebody will check it and hopefully be able to help you out with that.
Yeah, most most of the time I catch those because I get an email notification when somebody posts in there, so I don't have to even necessarily, once in a while I miss one somehow. But yeah, go ahead and post up a question in there, and if I don't answer it, somebody else will. There's plenty of guys out there that are way better than that than we are. So,
And also, I'll add too that we can do, there can be hangouts other than these shows to where you guys can get together, in a hangout and actually work real time on any problems you might have. Chris right now is a
yeah,
little busy because he's trying to get ready for an open house, but we have other people, Robert, Chris, Rude, they're working on other Arduino projects, but I'm sure they would probably be glad to jump in a hangout to help you out. Plus Andrew, down in Australia, he's good at it too. So, just let people
Andrew's
know.
really good. Andy Crawford is really good. Andrew is great with it. And there's other guys, plenty of, like I said, Chris Rude, Robert. There's other guys that, they're just watching along. They're not jumping in here because they're way beyond us, and they're respecting the fact that this is, show for beginners, hands-on, that we learn together. So, yeah, they'll definitely jump in and answer when you have problems. So post it up there. That way everybody gets to see it. And, email is nice, if you emailed me, but then nobody else will get to learn from that either. So, it's not that I have any problem with you emailing me, but it's nice to share the information that other people can learn too. So if you post it publicly and then we answer it publicly, everybody gets to learn at the same time. Appreciate that. Glad you guys are following along and enjoying this. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm learning a lot from you guys. Hopefully this keeps on going for a while, and I think we're going to kind of wrap it up. And I just wanted to remind you that we're not going to do the speedometer on the next show, which is the first Wednesday of next month. But what I am going to do is, how many of you guys, most of you guys probably got this little chip with your kit called a real-time clock or an RTC, and you're probably wondering what the heck that is. I know I was until just about a week ago when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for the next show and getting ready for this one. But a real-time clock is literally that. It's a little board that you can add on that has a built-in clock, just like the clock on your wall. I mean, you could do that with programming. I mean, there's an internal clock that ticks off the milliseconds on your Arduino. If you're using an Uno, I mean, it starts counting and it counts every millisecond from the time you power it on and keeps on going. But to convert that to actual time and not lose it every time you unplug your Arduino or power it down, this little real-time clock chip is literally that. It placed for one of those little coin-sized batteries, and once you put that battery in and use a sketch to set the time on it, it'll literally keep that time, and it even includes like leap year. I don't think it'll take care of daylight savings time, but you can literally run a calendar because it keeps track of time and days and months and years. So I'm thinking we'll play around with the real-time clock, and then we'll plug it into our LCD and try and get a running clock on our LCD, because if you just think for half a second, what would that be good for in a world of model railroad? Can you say fast clock?
Yeah.
So all we'd have to do is first figure out how to get a clock and get it displayed, and then would be the fun part of how to convert that to a fast clock. But I'm sure there's got to be a way we can take a sketch and have that time be converted. Otherwise, the other option, because that's actually the project I was thinking was a fast clock. Now that we have an LCD up and running, how can we make a fast clock? So one thought was to use the running clock within the Uno, the milliseconds, so to speak, but we would lose that and have to reprogram every time we wanted to turn our layout back on and power up the Uno, which may be good and it may not be good. I mean, you might want to start your operating session at 7 a.m. on Monday morning, no matter what night of the week it is. So that might not be the worst thing. But it still gives us a chance to play around with a real-time clock, even if we don't end up using it for our fast clock. So heads up, if you don't have an RTC, they're dirt cheap on eBay or anywhere else. Just Google it, real-time clock for Arduino or RTC board. So if you don't have one, you got a couple weeks to get one. Our next show is the first Wednesday of next month, which I don't have a calendar in front of me. What is that, about 2 weeks, Johnny?
Let's see, hang on. Be May 3rd, a little over a week. Yeah, almost 2 weeks, about a week and a half. About a week and a half.
Okay. Well, it's got to be at least 2 weeks.
No, a week and a half. Because you got next week,
That's
and then
animal.
the week after will be right in the middle of the week. So, got about a week and a half.
All right. So with that, I think anybody have any questions, or one more chance for the guys out in YouTube? Got any burning questions we can answer you quick before we hang up? Otherwise, we're going to call it a night. So
Yeah, looks like
Johnny, any other?
We're good on that.
All right. All right. Well, thanks for
Chris, here you go. I don't know if you can see that. It'd be remiss of me not to have this displayed.
Let me see. I can't quite read it.
Yeah, you got your phone tilted the wrong way.
Well, I'm trying to get it to show.
Yeah, but you got to tilt it the other way too. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
See
like
what
this?
Yeah, not
yeah.
almost, but not quite.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to make it out.
I guess you'll have to read it for us.
YouTube Model Builders EMAG.
There we go. That's our editor right here, and he does a great job. So, for as you guys who read the EMAG and didn't realize, JD right here on our show is the editor of that EMAG. So, thank you for doing that. You do a wonderful job.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
All right. So, with it, let's turn it over to Johnny to close her up.
Alrighty. Well, I'm going to put Chris on the line. Yeah. Stick him out on the proverbial limb. But hopefully Chris is going to post in the next day or two what parts will be needed for the speedometer, because people have been asking for that. Give them time to get them in when you get ready to do the show. So if you could kind of work on that.
Yeah,
Chris.
I'll get it out at least. I'll give them at least 3 to 4 weeks notice, because, like I said, we're not going to do the speedometer this next show. So
yeah, a lot of guys order. Yeah, you got to remember, a lot of guys order from China. And it takes 5 to 6 weeks for them to get their parts. So
okay,
yeah, they're going to need.
As soon as I settle on the one we're going to build, for sure. Because the other option I was thinking was we could maybe try and program our own rather than copying somebody else's, but I'm still out on the limb about that too. So
okay, well, keep checking in on YouTubeModelBuilders.com website for all the latest news and info on the EMAG, the live show, and the Tuesday and Wednesday schedules. As you know, live shows once every month. That's the third Saturday, and we just had one on the 15th. That was last Saturday. And the EMAG is bi-monthly. So while you're on the website, be sure and click on the EMAG icon so you can sign up to where you'll get a notification when the EMAG comes out. JD and his team do a great job on that magazine. And it's also a free magazine, so you definitely want to jump on that. The Tuesday and Wednesday shows are 1 hour difference between the Thursday and Saturday. So you got Tuesday, Wednesday at 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern. Thursday and Saturday are 9 o'clock Central and 10 o'clock Eastern time. So with that said, just like to say thank you for coming in tonight. Chris, thank you for another good show. And we appreciate everybody on the panel and all those out there in the chat. I know some people don't like being on camera, but if you want to, if you got a microphone, still come into the Hangouts and see if anybody wants to join you in a separate Hangout to work on Arduino. I'm sure you're going to find a few people that'll be glad to jump in with you and help you work out any bugs you have. So as long as you at least have a microphone, you're good for the Hangouts. All right,
yeah, that's a good point, Johnny. I know.
Yeah.
Can I jump in real quick? That's a real good point that, you know, if anybody's out there in YouTube watching this and you're shy about being on the camera, you can always just do the camera down on your project board and never have to show your face. So, you know, you're more than welcome to get on the panel, work along with us and be able to have your questions answered right away and work along with us. Just keep your camera down on your project, or even don't have a camera, just listen and speak. That's great too. So.
Yeah, because Logitech has a really good webcam that has a built-in microphone for around $30. It does a great job. A lot of us have those cameras. Of course, you can get more expensive, but anyway, it'd be probably be really helpful for you. You'll be able to talk live with people about your problems with Arduinos. Alrighty, so y'all have a good weekend, and our next show is April the 25th. That's going to be the fine scale build with Andy, Barry, and Miles Hill. They're going to be starting a new project on the 25th, so be sure and tune in for that one. Alright, everyone, have a good night, and we shall see you on the 25th. Bye.